Hello there, this is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates. And I have a video out there, the 50 symptoms of narcissistic abuse syndrome. And it's about 30 minutes long. And I thought I would make a video that could act as a diagnostic tool for people assessing for themselves if they might have narcissistic abuse syndrome, but instead of 30 minutes, make it 10, hopefully. I'm going to try to get to 10 or 15. So obviously the list has to be shorter. So the list is basically, and the title of the video is the 10 most wicked narcissistic abuse syndrome symptoms. Now, this is all very subjective. To be quite honest with you, the list is about what I have experienced as being the most painful. Your list would be different. If you took 100 people who suffered from this condition and asked them to make a list from 1 to 10, you might have 100 different lists in terms of the order and even in terms of what makes the list. But these are biggies. These are things that were the hardest and the most painful for me. So that's why I'm making this video, to put it, a little bit more concise. To define narcissistic abuse syndrome is, have you had a relationship with somebody with the cluster B symptoms, borderline personality, narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, and you didn't know who they were. And when you found out, there was this dramatic grand finale where the rug was pulled out from under you and you were just shocked. And narcissistic abuse syndrome is a cluster of symptoms, 50 of them if you watch the other video. I'm going to hit the big ones here. A cluster of symptoms that many of us, millions of us, have gone through that are consistent. Many of them are physiological. So basically being traumatized and experiencing post-traumatic stress or complex PTSD at the hands of a narcissist or a psychopath. So without further ado, let's get to the list. The first thing that was the most painful for me, and I folded in a lot of these symptoms, and that is, number one is the physiological trauma to your body. It was such a shock to my system, the things that I discovered. And it very much was like I had just returned from Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan or Vietnam and had been shot at and seen horrific things. That's really what it was like. And some of the symptoms I had was, I had a pain in my chest and into my belly. That's gotten better. My body was extremely fragile. For the first 6 months, my hands were constantly trembling. This week, I was playing basketball, and I was playing really good and feeling really confident, but a guy noticed that even then, he goes, "Why are your hands trembling?" And I didn't even notice that they were. You will have a tendency to want to pace the room because your system is just so electrically charged. your brain will have difficulty concentrating, and to me it feels like having a foggy brain. Things just aren't connecting up here, and you forget things. And you'll simply have anxiety just running through your system, just an overwhelming anxiety that is physiological. It's not like you're having a thought and you're worrying about something. It's that you are in trauma and your whole system is on high alert and overwhelmed with intensity and terror in your system. This will also, of course, lead to sleep problems. This anxiety, even recently, after almost 9 months, I stopped taking any medication to help with anxiety, and then my back tightened up real tight. I started to have pain in my chest and palpitations, and the anxiety was just taking over my system. So that's a big one. The second scariest, most painful thing for me was panic attacks. Panic attacks are horrific. They're just horrific. I got a call yesterday, day before yesterday, from a man in France named Robbie. And he encouraged me in my recovery, and he told me one of the things that works for him is to juice. Hey, Robbie, here's to you. So I got a bunch of vegetables, and I borrowed a juicer from a family member. And when I went to the grocery store, I bought bananas, because I want to have some banana flavoring in there with the kale and the celery and whatnot. But that's the first time a banana has been in my house in over 9 months, because this woman that I was with told me graphic details about her and her fellow sex addict, narcissist, psychopath, that they would use a banana in sexual play. And even when I'm in the grocery store and I pass bananas, my heart starts to beat real intensely. I have to catch my breath. Bananas were a source of terror for me. A banana. And thank goodness I've come so far. There's bananas in my house, and they're not triggering me. And I'm making good juice to try to fire up my recovery process. Early on in this process, I was driving back and forth from Grand Haven, Michigan to St. Joe, Michigan, and I would pass the little town of Holland, Michigan, and I would pass 5 restaurants in a row, one after another within about a 2-mile stretch. And they were all chain restaurants, and they were places that she had gone to with this fellow narcissist. And at the time, I would start crying. I would try to look away from it. I would breathe real intensely. I would speed. I would have a real visceral reaction to those restaurants. Now I still notice them, and there's still a stab in my gut, but I don't cry, and I don't really have a panic attack. I just have a small trigger. With this tendency to have panic attacks, it really debilitates you. My insurance changed because I was dropped from her good insurance to Uncle Sam insurance, and I was forced to get my prescriptions at Walmart. And the Walmart near us, I got to fight a lot of traffic to get there, and there's all kinds of fluorescent lights, and there's so many people everywhere. going to Walmart was like going to hell. I hated going to Walmart to get those prescriptions. When it came time to re-up my health plan, I ditched my 3 favorite doctors so that I could go to the lovely, wonderful, heaven-like pharmacy at the Market District near where I work, because it doesn't traumatize me. So panic attacks are just off the chart wicked. The third thing that comes to mind for the most painful symptom for this, for me, was cognitive dissonance. It's just, what happened? How could a woman who told me she loved me 1,000,000 times, who made love with me thousands of times, who gave me cards written about all the things that she loved me, and little notes throughout the house, and all the trips we went on, and all the cuddling and the long talk, it seemed like a real relationship to me in my obliviousness and naivety. How could she just throw me away like I'm a piece of garbage without even a word? And how could she cheat the way she did? Nothing made sense. Nothing made sense. And so your mind goes back and forth and back and forth, and it's just the most torturous condition to have your mind centered on this person who hurt you so bad. And some days you're like, oh, maybe it's me. Maybe I was the narcissist, and she went to that treatment center, and maybe they told her to stay away from me because I'm a bullshit. But your mind will do that. Your mind will go back and forth, and then the next day you're like, she was the devil. Thank God I came across a book called Psychopath Free by Jackson McKenzie, and it cleared up every single bit of my cognitive dissonance. I don't have any cognitive dissonance anymore. I know who she is. I know who I am. I know what went down. And that's a blessed, peaceful, wonderful feeling that has really turbocharged my recovery. Another tremendous, tremendous gift, as you guys know right now, because you're doing it right now, the best way to clear up your cognitive dissonance is watch YouTube videos. I've shared with people that I have one of those Chromecast players. I've got 4 of them now. That's actually the background in the back is the Chromecast. But you can be watching a YouTube video by your favorite Narcissistic Abuse Syndrome guru, and it casts it onto the TV, and you can have dinner and watch Sam Vaktin or Melody Tanya Evans or Ross Rosenberg or whoever it is that is your favorite guru in this, the Spartan coach. That guy's funny. But that'll clear up your cognitive dissonance, is watch those videos, watch them over and over. I've had so many people who are just in a ton of pain tell me, excuse me, that it's the middle of the night, they can't sleep, they're feeling hopeless, they're feeling suicidal, and they'll watch, some of them watch my videos at that hour, and they just cling to hope. God bless you. God bless you. But that'll clear up your cognitive dissonance. The fourth thing, and in a way, maybe it should be number 1, is powerlessness. When you find out that you've been lied to for years, and all this wicked, horrible stuff has gone on behind your back, and there's nothing you can do about it. In the Old West, I could strap on some guns, go to this really perverted, sick narcissist that she was involved with, knock on the door and say, let's have a duel, and I could shoot him. But you can't do that in the United States of America these days. You even make a threat towards somebody, you're going to jail. And It's a more civilized world that we live in, and I do not believe that I was victimized. So there's no need for me to gun anybody down in that sense. But you want to have some kind of voice. You want to have some kind of influence and power. I am going over. It's 15 minutes, and I'm not getting very far. I need to speed it up. So powerlessness will bring up tears. You'll feel the powerlessness when somebody doesn't listen to you and they interrupt you and they tell you what you have, and you'll just want to throttle them. Number 5 is exhaustion. Exhaustion that just, I would see one client and I would have to lay down and take a nap. Now I don't have to take any naps. I have energy all day long now. But for about 7 months, I was very, very, very limited on energy. Number 6 is crying, tearfulness. I don't know if that's a terrible thing. It's terribly painful, but it's the healing process. So cry, 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 cry your heart out, cry some more. Number 7 is identity erosion. When I would cry, my voice would actually change, and it would sound like a wounded little boy. It was a wounded little boy, and I felt like a little boy. I visited my practice in between trips to the treatment center, and I came in and I'm like, wow, this place is really nice. And I felt like a visitor, and I felt like a little kid. I owned the place. It didn't feel like it. You just have no confidence. You don't feel like an adult. You sort of lose sense of your work identity, and you're not able to function. You're probably not able to work. I could not work for 2 months, and I probably shouldn't have been working for 3 months after that. My short-term disability did not cover post-traumatic stress disorder. So, and my long-term disability, I had to be off 2 months before I could apply. So you will have to rebuild who you are, and it won't be centered around that individual. And for most of us, that's a big change right there. And then you're going at life with less energy, and you're just a different person. This will drastically change you. And frankly, folks, it'll make you a better person. All the feedback I've gotten is I'm a nicer, better person now than I was, and I have more empathy. And in my obliviousness and arrogance, I could come across like a bit of an asshole in the past. And so there is beauty for ashes. There is a blessing in disguise, very much so. The 8th thing is rage. You'll have rage. Every time I passed Buffalo Wild Wings, I pictured getting a big rock and throwing it through their window. I actually got a rock and was carried around in my car. I never drove up to it, but the thought was in my mind to do violence upon this place that was her sexual addiction hangout. When my therapist disagreed with me early on, we got into shouting matches. When I would play basketball that first couple of months, I mean, I literally threw a lot of guys to the floor. And my whole way of carrying myself was just so filled with rage. Number 9 is hopelessness, lacking joy, not seeing a future, thoughts of suicide. And number 10 is, after going through all this torture, nearly committing suicide, not being able to eat, having trembling hands, not being able to work, just being shattered into a billion pieces, then you're addicted to the person who did that to you. And it's physiological, and it goes back to family of origin, neediness, but that's number 10. So these were the 10 most wicked symptoms for me. If you want to learn more about this, watch my video, The 50 Symptoms of Narcissistic Abuse Syndrome. I got this done a little over 20 minutes. I ramble on sometimes. Thank you for watching. Join our YouTube channel. Visit our website, familytreecounseling.com, for some books. I hope this is helpful. Make a list yourself. If you suffer from this, sit down. It was helpful for me to, out of the 50, pick the worst 10 for you and then put them in order. These are all in order for me. Thank you for watching. God bless you guys.